Hey, how you doing? I just wanted to say love your work, and also I wanted to just question if you. I always wanted to because I've seen you debate like the Hebrew Israelites because I'm obviously, I mean, you can see from my picture from the black community, and I wanted to see if you ever spoke to someone who has their whole concept is like the whole Abrahamic tradition is like a psyop to put it clearly, and if that is like if anything you come across, and I mean,
You mean like the neo pagans or the Odinists, those kind of people that think that all Abrahamic religion is a scam? Can you hear me?
More or less, like yes, like from the Ptolemy, Constantine. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
So the closest thing to that I did a debate with a guy called Mark Brahman who believes that Abrahamism is a psyop. He believes in some kind of Apollo religion or something. That would probably be the closest thing. Let me see if I can. I don't even know if I can find that debate anymore. So it looks like it's still available. If you type in J Dyer debate Mark Brahman Brahmin, it still comes up. That's about the closest. I did debate a pagan dude named Boglord Dave. He believes that Abrahamism is a scam or something. So it's been many years since I debated pagans on this, though.
Okay, perfect. And so it's and that and I was just curious about more so what you more so thought about that because from the whole instance of just to give you a quick synopsis is like Abrahamism. I wouldn't say necessarily like that is fake or wrong. It's just like when someone steals off your work and then they present it like it's their work.
Mm-hmm.
So it just like it just descends out of older traditions that are more or less saying the same thing, but so it's not the story that's more so the issue. It's like, no, well, we're the only ones to say this one. This one's unique to us, and then everyone else is more so pagan. It's like I stole your work and then come and said you're a copycat after I stole your work. And so that's I think the biggest crux of what I kind of wanted to get into because as you can, like I said, black people see it differently more. I think who hasn't been.
Hold on one second. I'm sorry. This video is playing. Go ahead. You said black people see it differently. Go ahead.
Yeah, like more so who aren't Hebrew Israelites, because I have seen you debate like Hebrew Israelites who are, I think, kind of fall down that same vein. But to kind of put it more clear, it's like, well, all of them are kind of plagiarized from like African older traditions, and then they kind of try to say they're pagans to kind of hide the fact that this is where we stole it from. So, and like the issue is like not that you're saying that you need to have a savior or a Christ or something. It's more so like this is our concept, and everyone knows. And so that was more so, I think, the biggest crux of like if that was kind of new to you, if that's kind of almost in the debate circle. Because
you mean what would I say? Do you mean what would I say if like a black Hebrew Israelite said or a Hebrew roots person said we were the original Israelites, and that idea was stolen from us? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, almost beyond that, like, because even me, I would say the Hebrew Israelites stole that concept from other people. So they're even presenting their own, like the black community gets an argument where Hebrew Israelites, y'all made this up, y'all, just like the Christians you're arguing about. And so that's the real issue that we come across is like, it's all propaganda. Ptolemy's made it, Constantine made it. They've all made it as a form of conquest, and now we're just all picked it up and passed it down through them. So, and I think that's the thing that gets pulled into the conversation of like, oh, well, you think you're the original Jewish biblical person.
So, okay, who's making the argument that Constantine and Ptolemy made it up for conquest? Who's making that argument?
That would be perfect. If you've ever heard of if you ever heard of Dr. Ben, if you've ever heard of I have a book here in front of me called "Creating Christ: How the Roman Empire Invented Christianity" by James S. Valant.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah, he's a Jewish guy, I think. Yeah.
Okay, and let's see, and then there are a lot of other, like I said, African scholars that really get more into that. It was a form of conquest by Constantine, because obviously African people are looking at it from perspective of like.
Okay, so let's slow down. Like, what about if we start with the Torah? Because I for example make a big case that the Torah actually teaches the Trinity and Christian theology. So that's, for example, why I did this talk right here, the Trinity in the Old Testament. And in both part 1 and part 2, it took about 3 hours. We went through all of the references in the Torah to the triad. Are you saying that the Torah is also fake and made up as conquest?
The whole Abraham, yes. The original Trinity, I would say, would be Osiris, Horus, and Isis. The mother, father, and
okay. Why would we think that? Okay. Why would we think that's the original Trinity?
Because it predates Christianity, according to the scholarship and all that.
But my argument was that we're going to the Torah, so let's set aside New Testament Christianity.
Not Christianity. It predates the Torah. I'm sorry.
Okay, but how would we know? How would we know that though?
How would we know that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, I think because if we look at the Egyptian civilization, and that seeing that it's older than the Jewish civilization, and if we kind of study the things and see that they say, we can see some parallels between the two.
But that's based on the claims of the scholars who have the presupposition that the Bible's not true. So, and maybe they're right, but that's the point, though, is that how would we know?
I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily that it's not true, but that it was plagiarized. Their whole concept is that it's original. And my argument would be like, it's not original. It came from other sources. And that's the bigger point that I want to make of, not that they think it's original or not original. It's like, not true or not true, is that it was plagiarized. It came from older sources. And and I don't want to get caught up on the Bible, because that's why I said originally the whole Abrahamic tradition and
Okay, so but my question again is, how do we know that the claim is correct that the Egyptian civilization is older and the Torah is a ripoff of Osiris and all that?
Well, I mean, I think there's more evidence and kind of more archaeology and scholarship.
Okay, but the majority of hold on. So, but that's really just depending upon the assumptions of the scholars, right? Because, for example, they would say, well, we know the Torah is not true, so we got to look to what? Egyptian civilization. But how do we know that that's the case? Because of the number of scholars, or like what's the?
I think it's like kind of going back to, let's try to find, like, you know how scholarship goes to the original source text. Let's try to find the oldest implementation of this.
But that's just assuming that we know that the Torah isn't an older source text.
I mean, I think it's the. I mean, that is true. And so, I mean, if it's all suppositions, isn't that when we try to use like which evidence is
right?
Outweigh this evidence, and so how do you come? And my biggest thing is, I mean, not really to make it here, but just to see, like, have you ever had that conversation? Because I see you have a lot of debates, but I'm like, I always kind of want to interject this point.
No, I mean, I've not had anybody bring up this point you're talking about. I'm open to having that discussion. I mean, the route that I'm going to take would be the kinds of questions I'm asking you, which is that, okay, so if somebody asserts that, well, I don't believe the Torah because it's a ripoff of older Egyptian myths, I would argue that, well, the God that's presented in the Torah is actually very different from the type of deity that's presented in Egyptology in many ways. For example, Egyptian theology is pantheistic. The God of the Bible is not pantheistic. It's a creation ex nihilo. That's very different from creation in the Egyptian, the Memphite creation account. Very different. So I'm going to start asking stuff like, well, how would we know that, or what's the argument that proves that it's older and it's a ripoff?
Right. I mean, no, perfect. And then that would be, I mean, a quick thing. that I would cook up is that, because I think, again, because when we're talking about Egyptology and the whole art of Egyptology, and that's another big thing that I would push, or not push and bring back, is that when we're looking at how Egyptology is expounded today, it in and of itself is a cover to try to mask the true origins of, because it's a bunch of Europeans trying to, after they colonize the country, it's like, well, this is probably how it kind of runs. So I'm saying that they're...
Yeah, but Christianity in the first 3 centuries of, say, the Roman Empire has absolutely nothing to do with European colonization. In fact, it's persecuted by the Roman Empire, and you have 3 centuries of martyrs. So why would we think that that's like some conspiracy to colonize people?
I mean, well, and that's because, again, that is the... when you understand the Christ concept and how Christ... that, there are many Christ figures, and so when we see people think of like,
well, I don't believe that. What do you mean?
I mean, again, and this is why the evidence. I mean, again,
well, the Bible and the like, even if you think the texts are fake or whatever, like it doesn't teach that there's many Christs.
No, I mean, yeah, it doesn't, but that doesn't mean people didn't have Christ before Jesus, and that's my point. That you can we take the Bible as that's the only point into the story, and then
no. Let's go back to the first 3 centuries, right? So like the first 3 centuries of Christianity after Jesus' death, the Roman Empire is persecuting it. How would we think, or why would we think that it's anything to do with a conspiracy to colonize?
And simply the original Christians who have the original story, who predate Christ, those are the Christians that are being persecuted.
No, see, that's, again, we can read the people from that time period. There's no such thing as original Christians pre-Christ. How could you have Christians pre-Christ? What is that?
Serapis. Serapis Christo. Serapis is a Christ. The Christ format.
No. So what do you think Christ means?
Christ is Savior.
Well, it's a Hebrew term that means Messiah, Moshiach, right? So it's the anointed one.
Right, exactly. So
okay, well, hold on. That only has context and meaning in the Hebrew tradition. There's no such thing as a Greek Messiah when they don't believe in a Hebrew concept of anointing.
It's not. I mean, it's not necessarily Messiah, but they see that's what the.
Well, that's what Christ means. You said there's other Christs.
Yeah, I'm saying so. Ptolemy and Constantine were making themselves into Christ figures, and that becomes Jesus later. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, I'll have to check into that. I mean, this is it's new to me, but I don't think that there's any reason to. If you read 3rd Maccabees, which is part of the Orthodox Bible, I mean, Ptolemy is persecuting the church of that time. He tries to get the people to accept the mysteries, and the Jews are supposed to let's pull up 3rd Maccabees and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is 3rd Maccabees chapter 2, and it says, this is the tyrant, the actions of Ptolemy that mirrors the actions of the abomination of desolation of the Maccabees. And so it says that he proposed to inflict public disgrace upon the Jewish community and set up a stone in the tower in the courtyard with this inscription: "None of those who do not sacrifice shall enter the sanctuaries. And the Jews shall be subjected to the registration involving the poll tax and the status of slaves. Those who object to this are taken and to be put to death. Those who are registered are also to be branded on their bodies with the fire leaf of the ivy symbol of Dionysius." And so it says, if they prefer to join those who are initiated into the mysteries, then they can have a status as citizens. So Ptolemy, as a type of Antichrist, is initiating a tracking, tracing, and control mechanism by branding the church of this time, the Jews of this time, with the ivy leaf of Dionysius and the initiation into the mysteries. And so he would in no way be a Christ figure when he's here persecuting the church of this time. And 3rd Maccabees is in the Orthodox Bible. And for those that don't know, the title of the work is a misnomer, for the contents do not actually deal with the Maccabean exploits. Rather, it is a book that recounts the struggles of Egyptian Jews under Ptolemy in 220 to 200 BC. The book describes the attempt of Ptolemy to enter and desecrate the Holy of Holies in Jerusalem. So it's another type of the abomination of desolation that we read about in 1st Maccabees and 2nd Maccabees that is then mirrored in 70 AD. And thus you can see that it would make no sense to believe that Ptolemy is a Christ figure. That just doesn't make any sense to me.